Hi, I'm Kenneth, and this is Common Hawthorne. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. This is going to be a miscellaneous ship's log. I haven't done one since late May, and I haven't done much YouTube at all. I'm recording this on September 23rd, but I'm not going to publish it until tomorrow since I've already done one about the tarot, the Sounds of Tarot shorts that I've been doing, and I don't want to clog up my feed. And let's see what's happened since then. Not a whole lot until recently. During the summer, I picked up a side gig doing security 2 afternoons a week between a pool and the beach at a club here in Provincetown, and that was fun but also demanding. And I got a new appreciation for the hospitality industry that I've never worked in before, but also to what life is like for many of my friends and acquaintances here who are bartenders or waiters or entertainers who are working 7 days a week, sometimes doubles. And I found working 7 days a week really grueling. Now, of course, I'm 63 and they're in their 20s and 30s, but still, it gave me a new appreciation for what life is like for many of the people who live in this tourist town. About a month ago, I got COVID. I had not had it before, and those of you who have had COVID know that it can be complicated. So it was a pretty good experience, except that I'm still dealing with some ramifications of it, including what I think might be arthritis. So that's not very much fun. And it also put a sharp end to the security gig, which was standing for 4 or 5 hours. The last check-in, or maybe earlier than that, I mentioned that I had been drawing, made a commitment to draw 2 cards every morning, not necessarily reading or interpretation, but just engaging with the cards. And that lasted about half the year. And the decks that I used were the Saceribito, Pagan Otherworlds, the Tarot of Durer, Tarot de Marseille Waite, the Squid Cake Marseille, Curious Travels, the Tarot of Delphi, Ship of Fools Tarot, the Majestic Earth, Revival Art, Woodland Wardens, which is not a tarot deck, Botanical Inspirations, that only lasted a day, Forest Fae, which is another little oracle deck, the Inkwitch Tarot, Druidcraft. Then I tried Druidcraft and Woodland Wardens together. The Commonplace Tarot, Roots and Wings, which is an oracle, the Supra Oracle, and This Might Hurt Tarot. And some of these I used for a whole month, and others I used for a day. It's like revival art. I like it. It just didn't really last. The Botanical Inspirations, that wasn't really very engaging as just a 2-card pull in the morning. And anyway, it was really interesting to see that there are decks that I really like that just kind of left me cold in that moment, and yet others were really engaging. And when I started keeping track of that in just a little pocket diary, I also started tracking what I've been reading. And I haven't done that in a long time. And the things that stand out in this year, this calendar year so far, is I've read a lot of Adrian Tchaikovsky, an English science fiction writer. I like almost everything that I've read from him. I read Deaf Utopia, a memoir and a love letter to a way of life by Niall DeMarco, which was unexpectedly charming and moving. As a gay man, it was really interesting to read fairly public person. He won America's Next Top Model, and he won Dancing with the Stars, and he's deaf. And to read about his journey of coming to terms with his sexuality was really very moving. Let's see what else. Oh, in April, after a discussion in my book group about cozy mysteries, I was remembering, I think falsely, or I don't know how I was remembering this, I remembered as a kid in the 60s reading at least one Mrs. Pollifax novel, like a spy novel. And sure enough, there's a whole 14 books about Mrs. Emily Pollifax by Dorothy Gilman. They're not cozy mysteries because she's a widow in her probably 60s, but it's actually spy novels, not cozy mysteries. And I've now read all 14 of them. Got them from the library in series. But the first couple, the first one was published in 1966. I have absolutely no recollection of any of the plots. So somehow I remembered that I liked reading one or two Mrs. Pollifax novels that my mother had, but didn't retain anything beyond her name. I read Index, A History of the... I read most of it, and a very interesting book, very witty, as you would expect from a book that dares to title itself Index, A History of the... And then I did a lot of rereading. I reread the Interdependency novels by John Scalzi, science fiction author. I reread the Fionavar Tapestry by Guy Gavriel Kay. I reread and then read the newest installment of the books that started with Goblin Emperor by... I can't remember her name. Anyway, The Goblin Emperor, and then Witness for the Dead and Grief of Stones are not sequels, although those two are definitely sequels of each other, and I think that they're set up for a third, so I'm waiting for that. I read Cold Comfort Farm after hearing about it for years. It's really pretty strange. But it was like touted as a good feel-good book, and so I read it. And I read Good Omens, which was from my book group, and it's really interesting to think about the difference in their styles, Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, and about how much Terry Pratchett's text writing style influenced the book, and how in some ways it was kind of a light read, but I really had to pay attention. So it wasn't like a fast, easy read, because it was something where, there were footnotes and there were strange names, and it kind of skipped around from point of view. So I found that I really had to pay attention. Let's see what else. Oh, and I've just finished rereading the Murderbot series, again because of my book group. Oh, and I also reread The Thin Man for my book group. It had been a long time since I'd read it. And then I watched the movie, and I had not remembered some of the ways in which the movie radically changes the plot. They're both very effective, and The Thin Man has one of my favorite alcoholic scenes. Well, the whole movie is alcoholic, but there's a wonderful scene towards the beginning of the movie when Nora Charles joins Nick at a hotel bar, and he's been drinking, and they sit down, and the waiter takes his order and then takes her order for the same thing, a martini, and then she says, how many has he had? And he says 6, and she says, I'll have 7, line them up right here. And that just sets the tone for how the rest of the movie progresses, and in the book they drink even more. So I did a casual convo with Julie at Peekaboo Rose, which was a great deal of fun. And one of the things that I commented on in that was that woo happens, in reference to my approach to tarot being basically that it's not some like mystical font of external information, but rather it's more like a mirror. And I said, and yet woo happens, like when you draw the same card 4 times in a week. And so coming up this fall, I'm going to be preaching at the Unitarian Universalist Meeting House of Provincetown again. I did that in the spring, and my title is Woo, and it's still bubbling around, but I'm really looking forward to that. And I think that's about it for my disjointed, still slightly brain-fogged self. And I hope you're all well, and it's good to be back on YouTube. And thank you for watching. Come again soon. Bye.